This is a video about how to model an eccentric cam for our automata box project using parametric dimensions. So you'll notice we have this dimension sheet that we've already loaded onto our Onshape document titled Parametric Cams. These dimensions look a little different than what we've seen. For example, we have variables. Instead of an actual number, the diameter is defined in terms of a variable. And all of the other dimensions of this eccentric cam, with the exception of our hole, use this variable. And the reason we would do this is it makes changing the size of certain features and overall shape pretty easy once it's done correctly. All right, so what you're going to need to do is go to the document where we have all of our stuff, all of our resources, and you'll find the picture for the eccentric cam on this thumbnail. So I'm going to go ahead, click that picture, download it. Okay, not quite sure where we left off. I had a sweet little boy that needed to get some gloves on. Okay, so we've downloaded the picture that we had on our document in Google Classroom, and what we're going to do is we're going to go to our parametric cam document in Onshape. We're going to go to that part studio, and we are going to rename this one Eccentric Cam. And we are going to go ahead and start a new sketch on the front plane, in for normal. I'm going to find this insert icon. It may be an insert DXF, but I'm going to insert the image, import, find it on my downloads or recent, depending on what you're on, and click open. Then I'm going to click that file. Yours probably doesn't have a 1 next to it. It's because I've already downloaded it once. And I'm going to expand that rectangle so that I have the dimensions right next to me. This just makes it a little easier for me to go ahead and dimension. Okay, so next up is we want to start thinking about how we're going to design this part. First of all, what I would say is that this eccentric cam is pretty much just a circle, but the axle is offset. So this produces a motion kind of where you're going up slowly and then you reach your top and you come down slowly. It's not any sort of jagged or rapid motion, but it's just a smooth kind of rolling motion. If this hole were in the center, then you wouldn't notice any motion at all because everything would be equidistant from that center point and it just would run. So that center marking here, this whole center point, would be the center for this radius or my diameter that I have here for the variable d. Now, normally what we would do is we just do C for center and we draw our center, and then we would type in D for our dimension and go ahead and add the number. Well, in this case, we don't really have a number because everything is based and modeled parametrically. So what we have to do is actually add in those parameters first. And the way we do that is we go over to these icons here and we want configuration panel. So we're going to have to finish our sketch for a second. This top icon with the blue configuration panel, there's a drop-down menu and we want configuration variable. When we do that, it asks us, hey, what's your variable input? We are going to go ahead and name that a D for diameter. And my default measurement of 1 is fine. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it as default. And you'll see what that does here in a second. Now over here on the left-hand side in that model window, I can see that I've got some variables that are defined. D would be my 1-inch measurement, and this is where I can go to kind of change it if I want to. But I'm going to go ahead and add a second variable because sometimes this diameter of 3/16 inch, that's kind of an odd diameter. If I'm looking for dowel rods to be my axle, a lot of times I have a 1/4 inch dowel rod. I might have a 3/16 or maybe even an 1/8. But that 3/16 inch, there's some room for change there. So even though it's a permanent dimension, we're going to go ahead and add a configuration input. Oops. We're going to add a configuration variable, and we're going to title this one hole. And we're going to leave the variable or leave the units. It's really important. I'm going to go ahead and type in the 3/16 inch. Well, it's not liking it. So what I'll do is I'll make that 0.25 from the beginning. Click done, and I'm going to delete my accident right there. So you'll see I have two variables on this side here, diameter and hole. They also match up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close by clicking that same icon so I have a bigger screen. And I'm going to go back up here into this hole and type in the 3/16. It tends to like it a little better there. Didn't change anything that I have here. It's just how I have the measurements listed. Now we're going to go back into Sketch 1, double click, and I can use these variables to dimension things. So the circle that I drew, I actually want it to be the same as this larger circle that's the profile of my eccentric cam. So I'm going to type D for diameter. And then instead of typing in an actual number, I'm actually going to use the hashtag D. Says, hey, I'm using a variable. So I'm going to hit enter, and you'll see that that automatically dimensioned my cam to be that 1 inch measurement that I had been using, or I have keyed in up here. So next up, I have my overall diameter, and then from the origin or the center point, I'm wondering if I can, yeah, I need to make that a little bit smaller. So I'm going to dimension that and kind of move it. Let's see if I can move it. There we go. That way you can see a little better. Sorry about that. Okay, so I got that sized a little better so that it's not taking over the entire screen. All right, drag in this dimension so we can see better. All right, so I have my center point for my eccentric cam that lines up with the origin. Now I'm going to put in the hole for the axle. So I'm going to do C for center, and I want it to line up with the origin but not actually be on the origin. So I don't know if you can see, if you zoom in, you can see that yellow line, dotted line, and the vertical constraint that pops up. So that if I go ahead and draw my circle, they are constrained on this line. So I can't drag it either way. That red circle that you see is actually my cursor in Screencastify, but I can drag my circle up and down. So it's constrained horizontally or vertically. Next thing I need to add would be the actual diameter for the hole and the distance from the center of our cam to the center of that axle hole. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and dimension the center of the circle. So I'm going to type in D for diameter, and I am going to dimension the outside diameter of that hole. I'm going to use the variable hole. So if I type in hole, you can see that it actually gives me the hashtag hole. I'm going to hit enter. And what it does is it says, hey, you've got this programmed in as 3/16 of an inch, which is 0.188. Now it's still blue. That's because I haven't located it from the origin yet. So if I were to try and move this around, I can't actually adjust the size of the circle. I can just move it up or down, which means I am missing this vertical dimension of 1/4 inch diameter. So we're going to grab that dimension tool, click the origin, click the center of my circle, and then I am going to drag it out to the side. And this is where I'm going to type in 1/4 times hashtag D. So this is 1/4 of my diameter. And I'm going to hit enter. And you'll notice since I have diameter set as 1, that my dimension here automatically did, a quarter times 1 is 0.25. So I have all my dimensions out here, and you might be thinking, Mrs. Binka, why did we go through all of this variable business if this is just what my diameters are going to be? Well, let's go ahead and finish the sketch, and we're going to extrude, and I'll show you why. So this one here, we are going to add in our extrusion depth. So Shift E for extrude. And according to our plans, we have 3/16 inch thick material. So I'm going to go ahead and type in that 3/16 inch depth and accept that so that you can see I have this nice looking cam. I'm going to turn off my eyeballs for my planes so that all I see right now is the cam itself. So parameters, why did we end up doing that? Well, we ended up doing that because really quickly, say I want a 2-inch diameter eccentric cam. I can go up and type in 2 and automatically that cam has changed in its size. Maybe I want a 1/2 inch diameter cam. Well, there's a 1/2 inch with this crazy looking hole in the center. The hole, the diameter, maybe I decided, you know what? I really want to use those 1/4 inch dowel rods. They're a lot more easily available. Mrs. Binka has a bunch, so I am going to change that to 0.25. Well, now something happened. What happened? Uh-oh. Probably has to do with this right here. Yeah. Okay, so now I have my 1/4 inch hole with my 1 inch diameter cam. So I can change that to 2 inches. It automatically changes. Maybe I want to go big and make that 3 inches. So I've got this huge cam, but the hole didn't change. That's kind of important. So parameters make it really important, make it really easy to do some change orders and easy for you to decide what size cam you want inside of your automata box.